Hey everyone, and welcome to Big Red Homestead. I'm Josh, that's Caleb, and today we are talking about another Nebraska win in the books against Louisiana Tech, obviously. There's a lot to go through today. Obviously, we have a quarterback debate still heading into the Michigan game. We have to talk about how this offense performed, the inconsistent performances from the defense, the lack of a pass rush, and whether or not that's going to affect this team moving forward. Obviously, talk about maybe a little bit of Big Ten West talk as well, because there's a lot to go through. But it's going to be a fun one. Caleb, how you doing?
Man, Josh, I'm doing great. We just got finished with our film review from Patreon as well as the PFF grades. Had a great time. If you haven't checked out our Patreon yet, go check it out. Josh and I break down in depth the games, and that is always a lot of fun. It was great watching the game over again, and really it's re-searing it all into my mind. And for me, I think what excites me about this game, while it wasn't, the absolute stomping that I wanted, is the fact that 2 weeks in a row, Matt Rhule has won with a backup quarterback. Mike Riley and Scott Frost combined did not win 2 games with a backup QB. And we have done it 4 weeks in with Matt Rhule. And so that is just an exciting thing.
But is he a backup if he's actually your starter?
He was the third string quarterback on Scott Frost's team last year and buried behind Chubba Purdy, which is saying something.
I know, for sure. The development for Haarberg is obviously a conversation for today. Maybe that's where we can start. We can start about Haarberg and how this offense performed, because inevitably there was a lot of question marks after last week about whether or not they could keep it up. And obviously replacing Gabe Ervin's production and how we could move the ball this week was going to be the question mark. The offensive line performed great last week, and so we were hoping to see a repeat of that, which it was a mixed bag. So let's start with Haarberg then and his performance. He ended up 8 for 17 through the air for 107 yards, 1 touchdown, obviously, to Fedoni. But, the highlight was on the ground. 19 carries, 157 yards, 8.3 per carry with a touchdown, obviously.
Another big run taken away,
and one taken away, obviously, as well as Anthony Grant having one taken away. So what are your thoughts on Haarberg at this point? Is it a lock that he starts against Michigan? Are there still question marks? Because it feels like Rhule is leaving the door open with Sims' injury lurking.
The thing is, Sims came in for that one play, and then you kind of figured at the end of the game when it was locked up, Sims would kind of come back out because they felt he was healthy. He came in for a snap while Haarberg was out, and then Chubba comes out and we don't see Sims whatsoever. I feel like that they're going to roll out Haarberg again at this point. That's what my gut tells me, but it is really hard to know. I think Haarberg has done enough in these 2 weeks. I know his pass percentage hasn't been great, but I think everybody can agree that the wide receivers haven't played to the best of their abilities. We've seen Haarberg make really solid throws across the middle, or getting things out on time. Stuff that, you wouldn't always see from a backup. Again, really good passes that are on time, hit the marks, hit the guy on the breaks when they make their moves. I've been happy with that. It's hard. It's hard to know, though, because, again, I think it gets closer this week for Haarberg because we saw how much leg talent he had. We saw 2 huge runs from him.
I agree.
And Sims, that was kind of the thing holding him above, because in the Minnesota game, Sims had the huge breakaway touchdown. And now Haarberg's kind of said, and the Colorado game. So Haarberg's now kind of done the same thing of, oh, hey, I have that flash too. And those option runs for him. Again, that's how Sims scored. That's how Haarberg scored. And
the breakaway speed was shocking. Like you said, that was the one X factor that for sure we thought Sims had over Haarberg. So now that's actually looking somewhat even, suddenly you're like, okay, where exactly is the advantage in starting Sims? In the one play he came in and had to run because Haarberg's helmet came off, you saw the shiftiness and stuff. Obviously, the play was completely blown up and run completely wrong. So you see the athleticism, but I'm with you. I think from the team's perspective at this point, it's not obvious that Sims brings more to the table. And so you've had 2 weeks now to run the offense with Haarberg, even though it hasn't been pretty by any means for half the games. It
wasn't pretty with Sims either.
You probably keep it going. Right, exactly. You probably keep it going with Haarberg against Michigan anyway and see what happens. Like I said, I don't think the upside with Haarberg is still questionable. What's the best that it could possibly be with Haarberg? And it's probably this option running and and the grinded out mentality that we kind of have, which fits the offense that Rhule's trying to run this year. But
yeah,
I mean, right now at this point, the downfield passing is by no means pretty from Haarberg. I mean, even the Fedoni throw, he was under pressure, to be fair. But it was high and outside, and Fedoni did everything he could to pull that ball in.
That's so impressive.
Which was so impressive. And so for me, it's just the narrative of this game was a mixed bag. I keep saying it basically across all positions groups and definitely across the team as a whole. And that's how I felt with Haarberg. I mean, the upside is the running game at this point, and but when you play against a team like Louisiana Tech, who has given up hundreds of yards of rushing so far this season across the board to every team they've played, that's when you get a little bit less excited about the upside, considering everything else.
But we saw them again get burnt multiple times from Grant and then from Haarberg twice. And then, in games past, they had really big broken plays on the run where they gave up huge touchdowns. So I agree with you that it's hard to know. But again, Haarberg did, Louisiana Tech has fast players that could still catch up. It's not that their secondary was unathletic, and Haarberg still had, again, he didn't have the acceleration. It takes a couple more steps compared to Sims. But again, once it gets to the top speed, it is fast.
Yeah, no, again, his top speed was shocking. I mean, genuinely shocking. Yeah. So that's what's exciting. Like right now at this point, Louisiana Tech is now ranked 128th, and he's literally basically dead last in opponents' yards per game. So, not ideal to say the least. Like it's hard to watch this game and be like, our running game is amazing. Like just immediately hopping to that conclusion after what we saw previous weeks that was inconsistent, but it's a positive sign nonetheless. And you're building off of what the offensive line did in the run game against Northern Illinois. But I am a little bit worried that this could come kind of like to end up looking like what happened against Fordham and Buffalo in 2021. Like we're like, okay, like this team has something going for it, and we saw the running game looking pretty good in those games with like Marquis Step making plays and looking pretty good. And we're finally wondering like, okay, maybe the running game is going to pick up. And then we go play the Big Ten and suddenly nothing is working and we're struggling.
Yeah, I think that's totally understandable. Again, our offense, it still has a long way to go. I think one other positive side, again, we talked about the mixed bag. We've seen some good last week from the O-line and some still staying good this week. Ethan Piper still did good stuff on the pass block, and he looks really good on the run block.
Piper is emerging.
Told him a lot. So that's exciting. He really, again, just on the inside, he's just such a different player. And we saw that even last year, and now it's taken an extra step for him. He's so much more comfortable, and that's exciting. The continued problem is Turner Corcoran. He had one okay week last week, and then this week comes right back to a PFF.
We were wondering if maybe something is going to change, because last week it was like his best game of his career.
And we're like, oh man, we have a chance.
Shocker. Right back to the main event.
0.0 pass grade. That's just unacceptable. And again, just blown play. Guys untouched by him. Teddy Prohaska, though, in the 13th snaps he played, in the 13th snaps, Teddy got out there on the field. He was graded 90.
We'll see what happens. Obviously, you hope that he gets healthy and he comes out and plays well. I mean, he played like 10 snaps last week and then 13
Even
snaps
if he gets graded a 40 every time at pass grading, it is a 40x on our scale.
Yes. So, I mean, that's the hope, is that he can come in and at least, help things out. But at this point, we can't guarantee he stays healthy if he plays more than 1 week. So who knows? I mean, there's a lot of things there. I mean, Billy Kemp had his best game of his career on the offensive side.
That's true.
For Nebraska.
We finally got him going. We got the jet sweep going finally.
Right. And we even ran a screen to him on third down in the fourth quarter, which I was like, and these are the two things we said multiple times in breakdown videos this year, has been, let's get the ball in his hands behind the line of scrimmage, screen passes and end arounds. And we finally did both of them this game. The end around goes for a touchdown. We did the screen on a 3rd and like 14 or something. So I was wondering like, what's up with that? But like it gained like 8 or 9 yards. So I think we just need to, implement these things earlier in the game, allow for Haarberg to find some more rhythm early.
Yeah, positive momentum. Yeah, 100%.
It's just,
we need it.
I'm just surprised we're not doing more of it. So hopefully we start doing more of that now moving forward. And maybe that's just all been part
Billy
of it.
Kemp playing his best game, then Marcus plays his worst. Bad drops, not getting open. And so it's just like, well, we kind of like, oh, well, if Billy Kemp can emerge, Marcus seems like our best wide receiver. It's going great. And then he had a bad game.
Again,
and so,
a mixed bag.
It's just
finally Billy Kemp emerges and then Washington has a bad game. Like you're hoping that in the run game, it's great. It was fantastic seeing Anthony Grant dominate like he did. It was great to see Haarberg, but Emmett Johnson didn't look good in the snaps he got. So there's just pros and cons. Like right now, if Anthony Grant got hurt, which at some point he's going to get dinged up in a game, it's like almost inevitable for running backs. Then suddenly like, is our offense just going to completely stall when that happens? Like, what are we going to do? So
we run a 2 QB system. It's our only option. Our two best runners at that point would be Sims and Haarberg. Put them out there. Just
pain.
Flea flickers.
Yeah, all day.
all day.
Running back passes. I don't know. Literally, it'd have to be something ridiculous like that. So
yeah, we have to get gimmicky. We need something. Honestly, at this point, I'd do it for. We need something at this point.
Yeah, at this point, how many times we're gonna run these
double flea flicker?
How many times are we gonna run these fly routes to Tommy Hill? Because at some point, it's not going to work.
They're not working.
Like has his hands even touched the ball yet? Like our quarterbacks can't even hit him.
Yeah, dude, he's got 21 offensive stabs, just nothing. I can't believe we keep running with him. Like, come on. Like, I would rather see this with Lloyd. I would rather see this with Coleman. Like, give us those because those are our future. We need to start investing in those guys at this point because
obviously this is showing some of the learning curve for these guys.
It's not that much of a learning curve. If Tommy Hill's the bar of not catching the football, I think both of them could do that.
I mean, fair. So obviously they think that his speed is an X factor, but so far it's not. So, I'd rather have a guy who can run a more technical route and maybe beat a defender besides just speed. It's not like Tyreek Hill is open just because he's fast. It's because he's one of the best route runners in the NFL. Like that comes into play here. Like moving forward, what do you think is the biggest takeaway heading into Big Ten play for you for the offense?
And we have to continue to find ways to mask our bad O-line. And again, they were stacking the box on us heavy in this first quarter. I mean, they are selling out the run. We run it like 80-something% of time on first down. Like, we have to get a little bit more creative. I'm surprised more of these quick slants and RPO throws to like Billy Kemp aren't working. I'd like to see, or like we saw it in the first quarter with the quick slant to Billy Kemp. And I was just surprised we didn't see more of that. And maybe it's just because, again, it's a team that we're trying not to turn the ball over. And so we're just playing a little bit more conservatively, which is definitely fair. Yeah. I mean, again, this game was two catastrophic fumbles away from completely being different. I mean, Tommy Hill on the kick return. Tommy Hill, yes. Oh my.
Just like was like dangling the ball out there for a defender to slap it out, and they did, and we luckily recovered the ball, and then
it was so easy.
On the strip sack, that literally Turner completely missed his guy, blindside strip sack, and we luckily recovered the ball, which that could have been
and there was just no talking their communication. We saw like they had 6 dudes on the line of scrimmage. Like they were going to send a blitz.
Yeah, and it was completely missed. So those are like huge worries heading into Big Ten play. And that's why I'm getting like, that's why I predicted like 28 to 10, because I just thought that there was going to be some problems in this game. And that's why I'm probably going to keep picking, assuming these lines are pretty good for Nebraska. I'm going to keep picking the unders and picking probably, unfortunate scores. Cause like, there's just going to be things that are unpredictable for this team, I think, for at least a little while now, considering the offensive line is such an X factor. So the offense is going to be hard to watch, I think, rest of the season in Big Ten play.
Without Gabe Ervin, it's just going to be a hard season. So
that's the thing with Anthony Grant. Sorry to cut you off, but like with Anthony Grant, he ran great. But like we've seen him run great against non-Power 5 teams before. Like his athleticism and his abilities, they work against less talented teams. And then you get to the Big Ten play and he starts trying to do more than he's able to
My one counter was the 3rd and 3 run was about as good as a run as I seen from Anthony Grant. That was really patient. He waited behind his blocks.
Right.
He knew where the third down, the first down marker was. He makes a really nice move and gets there and was really patient.
No, I
agree. Again, doesn't try to do too much. So that was his problem. Not that he wasn't able to run well, but again, that he was trying to do too much. So if he can just keep it in front of him, take what's given, which he did this last game. If he can continue to do that, he can be good. So hopefully that's what's getting preached into him.
And I would say like the 4th down play where he kicks it outside. I mean, that lateral movement was, it looked elite. And I said it in the film review. I said
it was a bad call too, by the way. We should have done a QB sneak. Yeah.
And so he showed, I would say, some improvement even from last season. So that's the potential upside narrative. But, the one thing that we saw Gabe doing was getting involved in the passing game. I just don't think, I don't think Grant's ever going to do that. We saw him play a little bit better in like pass protection and run blocking as well for those QB draws. So overall improvement there from Anthony Grant. That's good to see.
That's what's tough too, is like we started to open that up in the last week with Ramir and with Gabe. That's another way that we can get something going on offense again with these quick passes and just an outlet for Haarberg, because we need an outlet for Haarberg. Because the pressure is getting there so fast, so often. And if they're sending more than 4, our offensive line's probably not going to pick it up with Turner inside of the game. So we need some sort of dump off pass, a lifeline for the QB. I'm surprised we just haven't seen it more. Also, Haarberg, I think a couple times needs to realize, be able to pick it up and throw it away right away. Sometimes some of those situations we use the running back just for an extra pass blocker. I'd rather see the running back slip out for a short route, little underneath dump off.
And that's part of the problem with the offensive line, is that it handicaps you, or you're not able to get those dump offs because you have to keep them in. So that's tough. And that's things that you just wish the offensive line you wouldn't have to do, but you literally have to with this team. So, all right, on the defensive side, what are your biggest takeaways here? What are your thoughts? I mean, I think the biggest narrative was that we basically didn't get a sack. We got one kind of cheesy sack. So what is your worry here with the pass rush? We ended up with only a few hurries in this game, like 11. So is this a trend? Something that's going to continue? Or what happened? What went wrong?
A few things. Our D-line, again, sometimes could get the hurry, but really couldn't finish the job. We've seen this throughout the season thus far of, Blaze or Nash or even Ty being able to, beat their guy, beat the guys on the offensive line.
But then they roll out and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And a couple of those rollouts too was a little concerning, is the QB kind of tucks and keeps it. And then he easily got 5-8 yards before a linebacker or someone else was able to come down and stop the run. Mm-hmm. And that was a little worrisome as well. Something that I think with McCarthy next week, that's something that's got to be fixed. Yeah, just some of the blitz plays that came through, the linebackers weren't doing as good of a job. It didn't seem like we were sending as many dudes either. It was 4 or 5. It wasn't really anything past that. We weren't as aggressive this week. And I was kind of surprised on that.
We still did send a decent amount, though. I mean, I think we blitzed.
Yeah, no, we sent a lot
on like 40-something% of his dropbacks, which is about as many as we did for every other game this year. So it was pretty similar.
The quarterback beat the zones a little bit more. I think that our coverage wasn't as good as well.
They attacked the zones really well.
They didn't cover as well as they had in weeks past, and so the quarterback had somewhere to go when he was being pressured, when we could get that pressure. In comparison, with Colorado, like those good guys, there was nowhere for Shedeur to go. So he had to run, or even Minnesota. There was nothing for Athan to do.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they threw the ball 42 times. They ended up with 292 yards passing, only 46 rushing.
Yeah,
they were playing without their top 3 running backs on their depth chart. And that was mentioned multiple times on the broadcast. So that obviously came into play as well. Obviously, Luke Reimer got hurt mid-game and didn't come back. So that comes into play.
Yep.
And Cam Lenhart didn't play as well. So that also is at least a factor. But I mean, not a huge loss there considering he's a true freshman. But
yeah, so, he's done some good.
I don't know. What are your thoughts then moving forward? Is this worth? I mean, it's got to be, at least to me, it's a little worrying.
It is worrying. I mean, we were so excited. We had gotten so many pressures to start. We had a lot of sacks. We were the 3rd in the nation. And then you think you're going to Louisiana Tech where, okay, we're going to get 2, 3, 4, 5
and they had problems
sacks
in pass protection in previous weeks.
yeah, they had big blown plays, especially to start the game. So I'm like, oh, we're going to start fast. We're going to find something. I don't know what it was even in watching the film of, again,
I mean, they were getting the ball out quick a lot of the time.
That was part of it. Is they had a great game plan of, they snapped the ball, they knew where pressure was coming, and the quarterback was throwing the ball, and he played a great game. He was PFF graded like 85.
Yeah, so this is a game where I wasn't as happy with Tony White because we didn't jam them at the line of scrimmage as much as I thought we were going to, and that's what we talked about last week. They want to run the RPO offense, and they want to get the ball out quick, and we allowed them most of the time to get the ball out quick. We were playing a lot of zone, in my opinion, was really frustrating, where I thought we should have been even more aggressive, sent more blitzes, or played more man and just forced him to beat us. And we didn't do either of those. So to me, that was a little bit disappointing with the game plan. I didn't like it.
And while Smoke's good, like
we kept him in check most of the game, though.
Yeah, our safeties, I think in a more aggressive play style with more blitzing and manning up was the play.
It was number one, Cyrus Allen, who actually beat us.
Our linebackers haven't been amazing in zone coverage just in general this season.
And then you lose Reimer.
We still saw the same good stuff we've seen. Javen Wright had a great game and was, besides some tackling stuff, was still really good in coverage. Singleton still brought the wood on the hits.
No, dude, Singleton, that hit was insane. And he tackled well. Basically, there was like 5 or 6 guys who didn't tackle that well. Javen had an overall solid game, though, it didn't really feel like it when watching, but going back, you're like, okay, yeah, I mean, he basically did his job. And like, he seems to be another consistent, solid player for us. I wasn't sure if he got dinged up or not, but 6 players missed tackles. I mean, Omar missed 2 tackles, Bullock missed 2, Quinton missed 2, Mackay missed 1. Mackay did not have a good game. Gifford missed 1, and Heinrich missed 1.
Yeah, so again, when the defense, I was hoping we could just continue to kind of stack good wins. I mean, we got the job done. I mean, it could be way worse. Obviously, look at the Big Ten West. You could have been Indiana going into a bunch of overtimes with Akron.
Illinois struggled against FAU as well. So like the Big Ten West right now looks pretty horrible. I mean, Wisconsin's the only one that's looked like pretty good or decent.
And they've even had some rough non-con
and they've had some rough ones too. So there's question marks for sure.
Yeah, there's plenty of hope. And again, I think our defense is still solid enough, and we'll kind of fix these mistakes.
It worries me for the upside long term. Like I was like, maybe we're just going to dominate, but like if we're not dominating against Louisiana Tech, then it's like, have teams figured something out a little bit against us, or was it just the matchup that wasn't great? So it does make me question a little bit.
I do think that
there was such an obvious path to success, but again, another backup quarterback who came in and played amazing. Their backup QB played great.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic.
That was a legit X factor.
We schemed probably for something different as well.
But that's the thing is,
that was an X factor.
They called the game basically like they called other games with a lot of RPO, quick passes, getting the ball out quick, and that's why I was just frustrated with the game plan overall. But that Jack Turner kid literally played a great game. I mean, he didn't really make any mistakes. There was barely any plays that were even turnover worthy. Like it was just straight up clean the whole way through.
Yeah, and that was another great point of just being a little bit worried about our defense is the fact that we couldn't get the turnovers that we were really hoping for.
Right.
Again, we had one thanks to Nebraska player DeColdis Crawford for having one go through his hands, hit his helmet at the end of the game. But hey, I'll take a good break, and I'll take Gifford being able to get the hands team on it and slide down, get the win for us. We need to see more turnovers from our defense, get us in good field position. There was a couple good punts on Brian Buccini's end. I think that was some positive there. We pinned him at like the 2-yard line again, and got a lot of punts within the 20.
Oh yeah, no,
so
for sure.
Our defense won the field position battle, and then our special teams were able to capitalize.
Yeah, and we had the missed field goal, the shank.
Oh yeah, Tristan Vaughn, that was a bad miss. That was not pretty.
And then the kickoff return that was returned for a touchdown that was iffy on the hold. So there was, again, just question marks and like things that didn't inspire confidence. But overall, like you saw the flickers of potential on the offensive side, and the defense, you still know that there's a lot there that you can work with. So, a lot of positives. I would say I became a little bit less confident than last week. But when you compare it to the rest of the Big Ten West, you're like, okay, well, at least we still have a chance. So, long story short, heading into Michigan,
Tech is a good offense. Like it is a solid offense. With good weapons.
No, right, for sure. Cyrus Allen and Smoke Harris are 2 legit weapons. So, and the number one was Cyrus Allen, the guy who ended up having over 100 yards, and Smoke Harris, obviously, is extremely dangerous with the ball in his hands. And then that quarterback played an incredible game. So they did some really good things, and more than I think we were going to give them credit for. But
yes,
the upside is still in question for Nebraska, and that's what we're going to have to talk about in the predictions video heading into Michigan here this week.
I'm excited for the game, but I'm very excited for Illinois the next week.
Yeah, I know, right? That's the thing. For me, the season really starts after Michigan, because then you have Illinois, you have Northwestern, you have Purdue, you have Michigan State, Maryland. Like, those are 5 games that are really fun.
So fun. They're going to be really intense, really close games. And I can't wait for that. I mean, Michigan, I'm glad it's just kind of going to be out of the way.
At the end of the day, anything's possible in Memorial Stadium. You never know. And we'll talk about that in the predictions video. So as always, guys, we appreciate you guys for hanging out, and drop your biggest takeaway in the description. Obviously, check us out. Check out the Discord. Check out the Patreon.
On Nebraska right now.
Amen. And we'll see you guys next video. But as always, guys, I'm Josh. That's Caleb. This has been Big Red Homestead. And guys, we'll see you next time.
Go Big Red.